Next off, I'm not gonna waste your time on the cymbals because cymbals are so easy to mix. It's one of those like you tell yourself to follow your ears when it comes to mixing, and it always turns out to be way more difficult to actually pull that off with most instruments, just because you follow your ears and then you end up stuck on it for 2 weeks, and you're like, I followed my ears, now I'm deaf and I don't have a sound that I like yet. Well, cymbals are easy to mix because you can follow your ears and have it pay off quickly, because you just throw something cool on there, and there's really not a whole lot to cymbals anyways. Just slap some compression on, maybe a little bit of reverb or some like room simulators or whatever, and it sounds cool. And you're going to turn these things down anyways because you don't want the cymbals to be too loud in the mix, because they take over. They're like a bunch of velociraptors chewing on your leg if you leave them up too loud. So anyways, I don't stress over cymbals too much. Just do some basic high pass filtering, cut out the low end that you don't need so the guitars can shine through. I didn't even use a high pass, I just used a EQ and dragged everything down below 400 hertz. And same thing, does the exact same thing. It doesn't do it as technically perfect as a high pass, but whatever. Anyways, moving on. Cymbals, you'll figure that. Toms, they're a little tricky. I usually don't stress over it too much, but I definitely want to get a great sound out of it. This, all I did was cut the low end a little bit out with EQ, and I just used a basic preset in EZmix, Tom 6. Let's hear what that sounds like. I don't have one part in here that's just a bunch of toms. We have a couple songs that do, and those are the songs that really force me to figure it out and make sure I get it right. Okay, that's with everything that I added applied. This is with it completely dry. Those are easy drummer samples, just completely raw, and you can hear that it sounds pretty awesome just as is. Like I said, they use top of the line mics, drums, rooms, everything, and it's worth every penny if you buy EZdrummer. So I highly recommend it. But if you want to tweak it a little bit to make it sit in the mix better, just play with it. What I did was I just cut out the low end a little bit with the EQ, a little bit below 63 hertz, because I wanted the kick to shine through in that area. Not a huge difference, you can't tell right away, but in the mix, when you got the kick going on constantly, it helps. So anything you can do to help, do it. EZmix, preset, Tom 6. See, all of a sudden you slap that on there and you're like, whoa, I didn't realize how bad it sounded originally, and I thought it sounded good before. So it's pretty cool to hear that difference. See, that's how cool EZmix is. It's just got these awesome presets that are just completely idiot proof. You click on it and it sounds better. So it's like a bunch of magic buttons. You should buy it and live. This bass took me a long time to get this sound, and I have my bassist to thank for holding me accountable to creating a sound that's decent, because bass is always difficult because it's one of those instruments that its primary strength is in the low end, but you don't want to miss out on the expressive nuances that are in the higher frequencies, even though its primary purpose is down here. You want to hear some of the pickup here just so that you can tell that there's a human playing it, and not just like you don't want it to sound like just just bass frequency. You want it to sound like an instrument. So I'm going to show you the chain that I've created. It's my chocolate steak bass. Here's completely dry right here. And here's with this EQ that I've drawn out here. Is basically, I'm kind of doing the same thing that I did with the kick. There's a bunch of mid frequencies you really don't need. And if you cut those right out, it leaves room for the low end and the high end to shine through, which are really the frequencies that you want to stand out anyway. So just that's a good opportunity to cut some mud out, some unnecessary mud, and you know, a little boost at 3.1 kilohertz will help bring out the pick scraping, so you can, you know, it'll sound like a human playing the bass and not just a sound. Next thing, the multiband compressor. Surprisingly, I found the built-in multiband compressor in GarageBand to be one of the best flagship effects that they have inside GarageBand. It's so good, and it just squashes your sound in a really good way, and the controls you have over it are very good. If you know how to use a multiband compressor, this is actually pretty decent. You can get a great sound with it, and it works fantastic with a bass. So I use it. I really squash the heck out of bass tracks with this thing, and then I try to sort of undo it all with, you know, this EZmix thing afterward. Anyways, let me show you what it sounds like with just the multiband compressor and the EQ. Without. Such a positive difference. You can see how it rounds the sound out. It exploits the best in the bass. You got the low end, you've got the high end. You know, you can hear the pick scraping, you can hear the expressiveness, you get the punchiness, and a way to achieving that is to just try to crank the overall pregain. This is the master pregain right here. It boosts the pregain for all four channels, for all four bands, sorry. So crank that up. You can see all this is red right here. That means there's a lot of squashing going on, and that's good for bass. So yeah, it can be overdone, it can be underdone, but just follow your ears and try to get the sound you like. But I think this is a pretty good sound, so I go with that. Now the last thing I do, I just do, well, second to last, is I threw a EZmix preset, bass 4. Without. Doesn't do a ton, but if you listen to it for a while, you can tell the difference, and any opportunity you have to make any subtle difference for the better, go for it. But this, it basically kind of cleans up the EQ even more. It sounds like what it's doing is it's kind of reiterating what the first EQ is already doing, and it's getting rid of some of the mid mud and boosting some of the highs while maintaining the lows. And then for the visual EQ, which I put on last, it's kind of like putting the cherry on top. This is just a basic preset that's built into GarageBand's visual EQ called Increase Bass Pluck, and it does exactly that. Without. Hear that difference? It just cuts through in the top, right where it's poking out there. And that's exactly what I'm trying to achieve, is that you want that low end to be there. There's a slight boost. You can sort of see it there. It looks like a little plateau that goes up. That doesn't make sense, but anyways. Then there's a little boost there that just lets the pick, the plucking cut through, which is really a great sound to have in a song. You know, you want to have as much of expressiveness in your recording as possible. It's very easy to get distracted by the overall production value and then lose sight of the individual instruments involved. And you don't want that to happen, because then you end up with some unhappy campers in the band who, you know, that they're not being heard the way that they played their instruments. So you want to definitely bring out the best in everybody. So this is a good standard way to bring out the best in this. The bass performance is to boost up here between 2 and 5K. So that's the bass.